Dzień dobry, panie i panowie. Nazywam se Miro i jestem z Pragy. Rozumiem po polsky, tylko nemluvím dużo. So if you will excuse me, I will rather speak in English. And I will try to speak slowly. So this is my first event in Poland, and we are here to introduce you a new interesting solution for security event and incident management from Prague. And my presentation will show you what new stuff we are bringing in the area, which is already pretty well populated with competitive solutions. So let's have a look into it. First, I would like to start with, what we are talking about. In the beginning, these days, not only your wives, women are speaking too much, but all the devices, if you look around, on everything which has some kind of CPU or software can speak to you. And I'm dividing those, speeches into three parts. The first one is diagnostic. So how do I feel as a device, as a solution? If I'm fine or if I'm close to heart attack, something is broken or something like this, which is called diagnostic. The second one is configuration and change management, which means what your administrators and what your operators are doing with the solution, with the software, with appliance, with whatever. So what configuration changes have been done already, and what is, the outcome of the operation, if it was successful, if it failed, and so on. So this is a config and change management. And the last thing is user activity audit. This user activity audit lets you know what the users are doing with the solution, if they are accessing the data correctly, if everything is running fine with their operation, and so on. And as you look around your IT infrastructure and IT environment in your company, it could be a huge amount of data, because even a small, really tiny device like IoT device can create such data, and they are creating them constantly, 24/7, all the time, all the weeks, all the years. So at the end of the day, it's, those data are everywhere, and these are pretty big data, because even you have a stream of something like 30, 40 megabits of the events, machine data passing into your device, it counts through the day, and at the end of the day, you can end up with having more than half a terabyte of machine data stored somewhere. And our task is to maintain them properly and notify you if something is happening, something is going on. We have let me do you some illustration. When I've been born back in 1971, on the globe there was less than 4 billion people. And we are now closing to 8 billion. So population doubled during my life. I'm pretty old, right? 71 till now, it's something like 47. But it's completely nothing if you compare how quickly can grow the machine data in your company. So I have pretty conservative prediction based on how many users, how many IT users you have in your company, and how long it will take to have first billion of machine data learned or stored by any kind of log management. It doesn't have to be us, it can be any other competitive solution. So if I'm pretty conservative, I say, based on my experience, the company, which has something like 3,000 employees, can create daily something between 250 to 650 gigabytes of logs. And this is pretty unpredictable, because it truly depends on the configuration of source devices. So how you configure devices, how many data they will produce, and what is also the length of the data which are being created, because in certain conditions it can create a short amount of the data, sometimes it creates a huge amount of the data. And we have a case study customer, Czech TV. So the government-owned television in Czech Republic, and they have a couple of channels, and they are broadcasting 24/7, and they are using our solution. They were actually the first user, and we've built based on their requirements our solution. So it was in the beginning, back in 2014, when we start, building our solution, it was our first customer. And their main task was, for us, the main task was, we truly do not know how many data we will have. We would like to add as many sources as we want, so we do not want to see any licensing. And we do not want to see any licensing on gigabytes or even per second or sources. So we basically accommodate this approach and we create a solution which does not contain any licenses. Next slide. So why to be concerned with understanding all the machines data which are being created in your company? We have, currently we have logmanager.pl website, and we try to translate slowly all the documents we create in Czech and English language into the Polish. Well, please excuse our ignorance. We are not that good in Polish, but we are really trying hard, to deliver as much information in Polish because we would like to settle in Poland. And I divide it into 3 parts. And you can read about it in the log management white paper we've created, but those 3 parts are typically divided into 3 different areas. The first one is regulation compliance, where you have, some laws in the country, and those laws has to be somehow fulfilled, and requirements coming from the laws has to be somehow fulfilled inside your companies. This is truly not the most important task to us. It's just like a tick box. But we have, country-specific cybersecurity laws. We have GDPR, or how you call it in Polish is RODO, I think. So you have this. I call it on my own. It's European Union ransomware, because you never know what will be coming out of it. But I don't want to scare you. But you have also some interesting, and a really nice, true suggestions coming out from certain standards like ISO 27001/2013, which gives you advice how you have to deal with current situation and how you have to follow. So regulation compliance, most likely checkbox, because these days when you are being asked by all those regulations, mostly they are asking for security event management, for a log management. They are not asking for full-size CM, which is costly and which will cost you a lot of human resources as well. So this is one reason. Second reason are basically security reasons, because when you have distributed logs, when you have those machine data, when you don't collect them locally, when you don't collect them on one place, but you have distributed them across the devices, anyone who can access this device with any higher access rights, or if it had been accidentally hacked, the first thing with those people who doesn't want you to know what had been happening, they change the time, they change the content of the logs, they erase part of the logs, and so on. So one of the most important security reasons why we are dealing with this is to store all the information on one place and don't allow anyone anyhow to modify the data which had been stored, and hold them as long as possible inside the device, or create certain backup of those devices, those informations into external backup store, right? Another thing from the security reasons is you can create your own alerts, your own correlations, and you can be informed about, the situation which you would like to be informed. And you can test it up front if the information will come in the right place, into the right email account, or into additional security appliance, additional security solution like help desk or something like this. So it's up to you how you configure it. But you can be, because once you gain understanding of what's going on inside the logs, you can be also pretty well educated how to react on it. So security reasons is another reason why we are building such solution. But most important, personally to me, is to support IT operations. When you think about your company and you consider that there is huge amount of companies who are looking for new employees. I know it from Czech Republic. I don't think it's different in Poland. How many security personnel, security IT personnel you have in your company? I have among our customers 5 ministries. And when I'm, meeting those customers, I'm speaking with them, they have between 1 and 2 IT security specialists. So there is not a huge amount of people who can deal with it. But always there is a huge team of IT operations who exactly those data also need on daily basis. I will explain why later on some additional slides. But when you collect the data on one location, how it helps you. mostly, if you are looking for something, you can find it easily and quickly on one place. You don't have to find a person who knows where the logs from these devices are stored because you would like to see diagnostics. You don't have it. You don't have access to it. So you have to go and find someone. The other thing is you typically do not understand the content of the log because each device is speaking completely different language. There is no standardization in this area, right? Because, look on the firewalls. You can have firewalls from one vendor, the same, and two different families, and each of them, is speaking a different language. The way it tries to explain you what is going on can be different. So this is one thing. And the last important thing is basically rotation of the log file. If you don't collect them centrally and you let them on devices, so you don't collect them, you never know how long time they will stay on the device. Imagine just, every one of you knows Windows, right? So on the Windows, when you are running Windows DHCP server, the log from DHCP server, which lets you know who had this IP address, which machine has this IP address, lasts only 1 week. So when you would like to find out after 2 weeks who had this IP address, which machine has this IP address, it's not there. It has been overwritten with new data. And the same is for the most of the systems. They simply do not let you know, they just overwrite it because they think that after 1 week it doesn't make much sense. But in Czech Republic we have something like a National Cybersecurity Institute, and it is suggesting to all IT administrators to maintain important log for at least 18 months. But you don't have it after a week because it's gone. So this is another important reason why to be concerned understanding and collecting the logs on one solution. I have a couple of use cases prepared for you, so I will show you how it works first, from the use case perspective, and I choose, really the easy one, because we are trying to be too complex. So first is, for me, IT incident. It's inevitable, like a death or, paying taxes, at least in Czech Republic, and sometimes basically something breaks. And these days, it's not like in the past, I start with Novel 3.12 and something in the past, truly, but these days it's much, much more complex, because imagine that you have an issue with business critical application. And description of the issue is, it doesn't work as expected. Delay is huge. It used to react in 1 second. Now it takes 15 or 20 seconds before I have response from the solution. And where is the root of the issue? Just, count it with me. The first thing, is it a virtualization where the application is running? Is it operating system of the application in virtualization? Is it application itself? Is it infrastructure, networking infrastructure inside the virtualization? Is it physical infrastructure, physical networking? Is it database server? Is it operating system of the database? Is it database itself? Is it disk space somewhere on network storage? Or, it's 10 pieces where something can get wrong. And if you have a central store of all the diagnostics data, you can easily select which devices are possibly, dealing with this issue and sort it by severity. And you immediately see where is the root of the issue, because the devices are telling you that, for example, disk drive in network attached storage is broken, and it is now rebuilding rate number 6, and it takes some time, before it will be rebuilt. Therefore, the answer for virtualization is slow, and so on. So it can be, many things, and we are solving, or we are helping our customers to resolve 2 important things with log management. The first one is mean time to repair, which lets you know when you find information on one place, you can much faster react and fix it. And the second thing is so-called root cause analysis. So the right approach is not to point a finger on someone and tell, this is your fault, but find a way and modify the policy inside the company how to help avoid the same potential incident. Of course, we have this Murphy law, right? When you fix one thing, you broke another two you are not familiar yet. But this may happen. So if you have a good log management solution, and as I told, it doesn't have to be just hours, it can help you to gain more visibility in your infrastructure, in your applications, in your operations, day-to-day operations. So you can quickly react on what is going on. But we have, of course, dozens of different use cases. Which one I like the most is drill down in the events. Because on a daily basis, imagine you are collecting 500 million or 250 million of the machine data. And what you need to find out is just one unique log somewhere in this huge amount of the data, and you need to find it quickly. I will give you a solution on Czech TV, sample on Czech TV. They are collecting data from all those, they have, through the saying, not very brainy employees from the IT perspective skill. Those are, basically anyone who works for Czech TV. And they are, of course, getting those ransomwares and malwares on computer, but their computers, notebooks, are just basically generic devices. If it has malware on it, nothing happens. They just replace it with another one and life goes on. But they are also connected to huge data stores. And if someone has a ransomware, it is not only encrypting on the local drive, but it is encrypting also those network attached storages and so on. So it is a pain in the neck for administrators to, on daily basis, recover the files, because restore of the bunch of the data where the user has an access can mean restoring few terabytes of the data. What they do right now is they have, of course, antivirus. So antivirus detects that there is going something wrong. But instead of restoring all the files, now they can select and list in log management what files has been accessed from this unique computer at the time when the malware had been found, and restore just selectively the files which had been encrypted, instead of restoring 1 or 2 terabytes of the data which has been, on the given share. But there is much more. So some with the screenshots. Main idea of the log management is collect as many logs as possible. So collect almost from everything and send it to a central store. And as some of you are definitely the administrators of Active Directory, you know that it is quite easy to find out, if the user account is locked, because you know where it can happen. But if the user account for administrator is locked, it's much heavier, because he's responsible for 300, 400 servers. Some are in virtualization, some are physical, and it can take some time before you will pierce through all the event views in those systems before you will find out why it happened. So what we do is we are collecting the logs, and in this case I'm interested in the logs from the selected computers, servers, and Active Directory, and what I see is I have pre-built dashboards which help me to quickly find out what is going on. And I just, what I create a clipping level policy. If I fail so many times or few times after on my username, it will lock my account. So my account is Knapovsky at something, and what the system does for me is if I accidentally lock my account, it will log it and show it to me, so I can select show me only failed logons for Knapovsky. And it will show me what is, the histogram, so the time scale, where I was successfully logged in, where I was with a failed login. It will show me the servers where I was connecting and I failed my login. And it will also show me all the logs. I can sort them out on the timeline, and I see that my first failed login is on a certain server, but it is a service which failed login. And now I remember, I was doing something half a year ago, and I changed the service to start not under the local system account, but I started under my account. And when I change my password, it remains there. And after server applied patches and restart, it tried to use the same user number I'm using, but with the wrong password. And this locked my account, so I can find it pretty quickly. Among 300 servers in just a couple, 40, 50 seconds, you can click, and that's out. Or another use case, I will do for you a short excursus in Czech IT slang. We have something which we called BFU. It's translated to Polish, or to English, sorry. It's a common user Franciszek. And it has also another sentence using between the IT managers, but basically it's a person who comes to you and he thinks that you will solve his problem immediately, any kind, because it was working yesterday, it has to work now immediately, because it's your fault, not my fault. So he comes to you and tells you, okay, look, someone deleted my data from the storage. Can you please restore them, because I truly need them? So what you can do now is you can ask him, okay, what was at least one file name which you are missing, and he will tell you, okay, it was tiny something. So you can write down in the Windows File Access dashboard just tiny and star, which means anything behind it, and it will show you usernames and the file names which had been seen in a given time period. And you can create also view on the access, so what had been done with these files which contain tiny inside. And you can select the right file, and then you can see all the history for this file on a given file server. So you see the columns, and in the columns you have username, what had been operation on the Microsoft, what was the exact file name, what was the source IP address, and you can easily export it into CSV file, and you can provide a user, look, it's you who deleted the file, so don't lie to me, no one else deleted the files but you did. Easily. So this can be one use case. But there are, as I told you, plenty, and I will now introduce you a little bit what the log manager is. So first of all, it is a physical appliance. We decide that we will simplify everything for users. So we basically pack everything in one box, which you would just grab and put into the rack, turn it on, and you are ready to go. You don't have to install anything. So it simplifies a lot of things. Now what we do is we are collecting the logs. And we have two main approaches. The first approach is the solutions which can send you the logs, we can receive almost in any format which the solution can create. If the solution is not capable to send you the logs, and there are many, especially unique applications created for you, they are running on top of the database, they will not send you the logs because they are stored somewhere in the database. So then we can pull the logs out, we can connect to the solution, and we can select table in the database, and we can load these logs back to the log manager. Or a special situation with Windows. Windows basically doesn't allow to send you the logs. They support something which is called Windows Management Instrumentation, so-called VMI. You know it, right? But the VMI doesn't let you access all the logs. It just lets you access the basic logs, the 4 basics. And even if you consider, plenty of even Microsoft application is not logging directly into the event view. It is logging into the text files. So what we do with Windows Event Center, it is a small footprint client you install through the group policy, and then you centrally manage it from the log manager, and it is collecting the log and picking up the logs which you are interested in, filtering them straight on the station or on the server, and only the important logs are being delivered to the log manager. And then, because we do not have any license, so as the log reaches us, we can never predict how many logs will come in. So we have a huge buffer. We don't have license, so we don't care if you will overload us or not. We are interested in your machine data. Therefore, there is up to 50 gigabyte big buffer which can collect the log if the machine is overloaded. Then we do normalization. I will show you shortly what the normalization exactly is. After the normalization, we store it into embedded data store. And this is another reason why we don't have a virtual appliance, because imagine yourself going after your virtual subsystem, administrator, and you will ask him, okay, look, I would like to create a virtual machine which will have 120 gigabyte of the 128 gigabyte of the memory, at least 40 virtual CPUs, and approximately 40 to 60 terabytes of storage. You will be smiling, right? No chance. So we have it embedded in the appliance. Then we have application engine which does everything which is necessary. So classifying data, tagging the data, do the normalization, storing the data in the data store, sending you alerts, correlations, and speaking with surroundings. So we embed also a RESTful API where you can query the database straight on from different similar applications. So this is a log manager. It's a physical appliance. And we have them like a t-shirts, you know, the size. M size, L size, XL size, depending on how many logs you predict that you will have. But we don't, as I told, we don't lose them. If you will overload it shortly, up to 50 gigabytes of compressed log can be stored in temporary memory and proceed when the overload comes down. This typically happens after some incident in the company. If something is broke, then when it is restored, all the machines start, you know, speaking as much as possible to tell you what was happening and so on. Okay, log manager user interface. Our motto is radical simplicity. So we basically streamline everything and trying to create everything as easy as possible for you to understand. And we are making things even more easier, and I will show you shortly. But we have, you know, because I'm an old school guy, we have also something like a 850-page long documentation which describe everything, even, you know, how you configure source devices and how exactly you can build new parsers on your own and so on. So our radical simplicity means that you do not need with our solution also to learn any special language, programming language or SQL language. So if you would like to query in our solution, you are just fine with knowing just 3 basic mathematical operands, and, or, and not. Those 3 basic operands are sufficient to be able to query our solution. We have pre-built dashboards for well-known situations, so you have a lot of dashboards built in. We have samples and templates for alerts and correlations. Reporting is quite easy because what you do is you just create a new dashboard and you say, okay, this is my report. Send me this dashboard in PDF every week or every day, it depends. And we will just simply print it out and send it to you in PDF, so radical simplicity. We have perfect AAA subsystem. So what you can do is you are storing a lot of different logs and some are sensitive. And you have definitely the group of the people who doesn't have to see those sensitive logs. So you can avoid them seeing while leaving them all as a functionality of the solution. And we have possible integration, metadata. By the way, you see on this screen, this is 1 week on our mid-size solution. One week total amount of the logs, and I put, you know, blue lines in between, so you see that it was almost 1.5 billion events collected on our mid-sized device. Okay, so what do we do? Normalization, as I expect most of you know, but I will just repeat it. I choose, you know, very simple and short log from a kind of firewall. Doesn't look much like, you know, kind of firewall. But what we do is, all the logs we divide into 2 parts, into metadata and message data. Metadata is always the same, and metadata is processed automatically. So I've grabbed this metadata, and what I do is, I know how it arrives to me. So I know the transport layer, I know source IP address, I know source port, destination port, where it comes from, and so on. So what I do out of it is, I do not trust the time which is in the log, because it can be hacked, it can be modified. So what I do is, instead of, you know, using the time which arrived, I put my own time. I put unique identification for every log. I just grab the syslog priority, and I calculate out of it facility and severity of the incident. And I also know that this, according to syslog standard, should be source program, so which part of the device it is coming from. So I basically process this automatically. You don't have to do anything, and it's done by log manager automatically. Then other part of the log is message data. This can be different every time. So what I do is, I have something which we call Parser, which is cutting the log into the pieces and adding an extra information into it. How we can collect those informations, you know, we just cut it into the pieces, and I see, you know, MAC address. But the MAC address can come in different formats. One solution sent you MAC address like this. Other solution is using double dots. Other is sending three dual byte, MAC address. So what we do is we do normalization in here as well. So we just, see the MAC address. We create MAC address value, which is always in the same format, and we know that this MAC address is from Microsoft mobile phone. Then I see the source IP address. So I look into the DNS server. What is the name in DNS for this IP address, which is, back my home, it's my daughter, Eliška. So the PTR is Eliška Knapovsky.home. And I see also the destination IP address, destination port, country where the IP address from, and the service, which is seen in the log. So I can grab this and I put it into columns. And this is good for quick investigation, because then if I would like to see what is my daughter doing, I take it as a sample, right? I just select her IP address, and now I see all the destination IP addresses. I see all the time chart, what she was doing, and also much more information below. Basically, every log which is containing this source IP address is truly displayed down there. And it doesn't have to go through one device, but I can go through multiple devices because we are standardizing the name of the columns, right? Oh, sorry. Okay, now the tricky part comes out. What we do is, the question is, when you have a log management or security information and event management, you always need to do some programming. But we are trying to pierce off the complexity of the programming. So instead of, pushing you to do some programming, of course we support this. This is part from the log manager. What we invent is something which you can quickly learn. And the kids on secondary school now are starting programming with this approach, which is a visual programming. And there is, if you write into the Google Blockly games, it will show you some samples. So there is jestli, něma, robáka, vykonaj, kierunok, 345, and so on and so on. And you can test it, and then you will see how it is programmed. So we have exactly the same approach. And I have here a sample of, very easy alert. What this alert does is, it is asking, there is a query in the beginning, and I would like to be alerted if someone is logging into my home firewall. So the query in the beginning is it having a tag FortiGate, so it's coming from the FortiGate? Then another question is, does the message.log description contain admin login successfully? Yes, it does. If this is true, then forward the message to another solution, could be CM from someone else. And then I'm adding an extra query where if the device name is home, which is my home, send me a notification to my email that someone was logging into it. And I can add another condition like, is the source IP address unknown, meaning, it's from local IP address, from a local network, like, not internet IP address, don't notify me. Notify me only if the IP address is coming from any other country but Czech Republic. So I can skip. So if I'm logging from Czech Republic, it will be fine. I will not be notified. If I'm logging outside Czech Republic or somebody is basically trying to get into my firewall, I will be notified. Another beauty what we create, how we are pushing this radical simplicity is instant test of everything. So if you would like to test how your alert is working, how your parser is working, what you can do is you can grab the log, the source log, the original one you are interested in the system, and put it into the test message. In this test message, it will show you how it is stored in the log manager database. All the fields are filled in immediately from the log, and it will also notify you, see up, there is message is alerted and forwarded and stored. So how the message will be processed. And this helps you a lot when you would like to build something on your own quickly, because you never know, other systems are quite complex. We are removing this complexity with, pretty simplified solution. Okay, there could be another sample of correlation, but I will skip it because it's a bit complex. So another important question about the log management or security event management solution is, whom do you understand? What are the source devices? because as I told you, each source device speaks a different language. So we are currently supporting more than 120 unique sources, meaning, what you see here. Plus, we are also supporting some common, well-known standards. Of course, there had not been standardization anyway, but certain companies are telling, like, ArcSight is telling, okay, CEF is a format, which is a common even format for the logs, or IBM is telling, okay, Leaf is the right format, so we support it, or JSON, JavaScript object notation, or RFC 54244 for structured logs are the most common formats. We are supporting them as well. So if you can't find the solution on the top, then if the solution is capable to send the logs in any of those formats, we can understand it without need of writing a custom base script parser. Now, some parameters about our solution. As I told you, we are trying to make the things easy. So devices are M size, like T-shirt, L size, or XL size. So we can grow up to 10,000 events per second, 10,000 machine data collected per second. Of course, it depends on many things, but this is the number we can reach. If you would like to see it faster, what we have is something we call workload accelerator, which is nothing else than non-violative memory, where we are working with a daily index data, with a daily incoming data, because it's kind of SSD which you can't overwrite up to death. It survives a lot of writes, huge amount of writes. Then we have embedded capacity for up to 100 terabytes of the logs. It's in the box, so 2U box, 12 drives, each 10 terabytes, RAID 6 embedded in the system. Then we are supporting clustering. Clustering, we would like to have it in high availability, one log management solution in one data center, other in other data centers, that's it, clustering. Then we have our own Windows Event Center, which we are working constantly, and we are improving and adding new functions, and it is centrally managed and a small footprint, really, with something like 27, 28 megabytes when it's running on the server. Unlimited amount of machine data sources, so we don't limit you on anything, and easy and transparent licensing system. We don't have any licenses, which end up at very low cost of our solution, because you don't have to pay for extra gigabyte. You consider in the beginning that you need 20 gigabytes, but later on you find that 200 is not sufficient. Not the matter for our solution. We simply we know how much you can maximally store in our solution, and that's it. Then we have currently really good disties. It's a forcing. In Poland, I hope you are familiar with them, and they have skilled technicians, so we are starting with them, and if we will be successful, we will have our own person. We already have our own technician in Slovakia, so when we will be at least somehow successful in Poland, we will add our own log manager technician here in Poland as well. Then we have documentation and interface in Czech and English, but we can consider having it in Polish as well, because for us it's quite easy to translate it. 800 pages takes some time, but we can have it. And we have user forum to support our users, and we are listening to the customers, because we are a small customer, a small vendor, and we are trying to succeed on the market. Therefore, we are listening what our customers need. Okay, roadmap. We started back in 2014, and we are slowly moving from security event management into, I call it, affordable CM. Why it is affordable? Because we are cheap, and because we don't have those beauty, nice features like the big vendors have. But the question is, who truly needs them? If you are a mid-sized company and you have no or one security IT personnel, do you truly need a CM where somebody has to sit 24/7 to get some outcome out of it? Because CMs typically require some attention and proactivity. If you don't have force to do proactive tasks, why you have to waste your money on something which requires human force while you don't have it? So that's our drive. In Czech Republic, we have now, it's growing up, we have something like 130 customers. We have some on Slovakia already, and we are starting here in Poland. So anyone who will visit me on our booth here will receive my own t-shirt. This design I did. It stands for Read Your IT Mind. So visit me and I will give you a t-shirt, we can speak about it. And if you will have any questions, I will try to show you immediately because we are running demos there and I can show you how it works exactly. But among the customers, don't be afraid, we don't have only the government, but we are 50-50. We have private companies and we have some big names like ČEZ, which is company which owns in Czech Republic 12 power plants plus 2 nuclear power plants, and so we have really good names among our customers. Other online events, as I told you, local distis, Forcing PL, they have 3 skilled technicians. Then I have some YouTube channels. There is not much in English, but I will add shortly. And we are running a user forum, which is locked for our users. If you would like to have a test drive on user forum to see how the hints are there, described, just ask us, and we will provide you test account into the user forum. And the summary, because I'm closing to the end of my presentation, is okay, we are not trying to be the best from the function perspective, and we can't because we are, typically 10 times cheaper than competitive solution. But we are sufficient for almost 95% of the companies in, at least in Czech Republic. And even the big customers doesn't complain because they know what they are buying, and they are expecting that our functions are not sky high, but what we do, we are doing perfectly, and that's our goal. Okay? Thank you very much. My name is Miro. Ping me on my email, or there is, this address in a box, and I would be glad to answer your questions either today on my booth or tomorrow morning. I'm leaving around 1 p.m. tomorrow. Many thanks.